Hello everyone, Nytmare here, and this is Whale FM's Project Showcase. Today we are speaking with DAZN Boxing, the combat sports wing of the global powerhouse streaming service, who is bringing you one of, if not the absolute biggest fights of the year this weekend on May 8th. Canelo Alvarez versus Billy Joe Saunders, Face the Fearless. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
No worries.
Yeah,
Thanks for having us.
Just for full disclosure, I'm actually the resident sports junkie here that's been dabbling in the fight game myself in my amateur getting my butt kicked trainings that I do for fitness and whatnot over the years, as well as the person most tied into the sports collectibles. So ironic timing here, there was actually a big conversation going on about the expansion of sports collectibles in the NFT space and how that interest is just continuing to blow up and grow. So great to have you with us. We're excited to hear about what you are doing.
Thanks for having us. Looking forward to talking about it all.
If we could real quick, could we just go around the room and just introduce ourselves?
Yeah, sure. I can start. My name is Jack Rose. I work at DAZN, obviously. I've been involved in this NFT project from the beginning. Blockchain and NFTs is something that we've been looking into for a couple months, and we were wanting to find the right way to launch this thing and how to get involved in the right way. And we thought this massive fight this weekend was a good opportunity to dip our toes in and join the community. So excited to seeing what happens.
I'm Stu McMillan. I basically head of design for DAZN Studios. We're a creative team that service the whole of DAZN. Basically, we're kind of team of editors, designers, creatives that are kind of this middle point of a Venn diagram that are completely passionate about sport and also really passionate about creative. So this is a fantastic opportunity for us, really exciting project, and hopefully get to talk you through what we did and what we delivered.
Awesome.
Hey guys, Joe here, EVP at DAZN, responsible for our global platform and for revenue innovation. So sitting across everything we're doing to improve and deepen our relationship with customers around the world, and the NFT stuff forms a major part of that. So good to be speaking with you, and excited to be here.
I think we just lost Xander to an internet issue, but I'm sure he'll come back and he can introduce himself at that point. Oh, there he just popped back in. But Xander's also on the revenue innovation team and heavily involved in putting together this collection and this drop.
Very cool. Yeah. And while we get Xander unloaded, I think, Joe, you're actually there on location at the fight location, correct?
I am. I'm in the bubble. So I've just done the press conference with Billy Joe and Canelo. Tyson Fury turned up and is causing all sorts of drama, which is great for us. And obviously that's sparking the sort of fight week interest at both sides of the pond in the US and the UK. This has really caught the imagination of the sporting public. So I think we've got a mega fight on our hands, which is obviously great for us and great for the general sort of discussion and interest around the NFT drop specifically.
Awesome. And just for level setting, for those that aren't familiar with this particular fight, could you just give us kind of the highlights and 101 for those that aren't up to speed?
Yeah, sure. So Keno Alvarez, I think many will be familiar with. He's the pound-for-pound king of boxing. Unbelievably talented guy, Mexican guy. Full-weight world champion, is going into a unification bout at 168 pounds, which is super middleweight weight class. He is, without question, since his only loss of his career to Floyd Mayweather, he was a very young man, just gone from strength to strength. He's incredibly charismatic. He's incredibly cool, frankly. Also incredibly talented as a fighter. So we're very excited to be continuing to work with him. He continues to set challenges for himself with the pursuit of legacy. In this case, specifically wanted to become the first undisputed Mexican super middleweight world champion. So we're excited to be supporting that. In Billy Joe Saunders' opponent, you've got a very plucky, very difficult British opponent. Brings with him a whole roster, a sort of entourage of British characters, including Tyson Fury. So really, it's a clash of styles. It's a clash of cultures. But we're very excited to, obviously, as a global broadcaster, to be broadcasting exclusively this fight in the US, where Canelo has a huge fan base, particularly amongst the Mexican American population, and in the UK, where Billy Joe is a sort of pantomime villain, I think is a good way of describing Billy Joe Saunders. But he's got his own sort of following. He's starting to transcend out of the hardcore boxing audience in terms of a household name. In the UK, this fight has, as I say, caught the imagination of the public. So we're very, very excited to be broadcasting it on both sides of the pond this weekend.
Very cool. Yeah, I did note that he has a little bit of that Conor McGregor swag, trying to villainize himself and work that angle. But talk about a big fight headlining AT&T Stadium. 55-1-2 for Alvarez. Saunders, I believe, is 30-0. Is that right?
He is 30-0. Yeah, he is 30-0. Correct.
Possibly 30-1 after this weekend. We will see.
But also possibly 31-0 as well.
Correct.
That's why you should tune into DAZN on Saturday night to find out which one it is. But look, I think he's definitely up against it. Canelo is by far the firm favourite. I mean, those of us who've watched Canelo over the last 3 or 4 years, that the ability he has just to dominate opponents, to stalk them down, and to do that. So, I mean, we've broadcast Canelo fight. I think we've broadcast 6 Canelo fights so far, this one included. He's fought those across 3 weight classes. He moves up and down the weight classes. He's fighting at light heavyweight, he fights at middleweight, he fights at super middleweight. And that is technically and physically an extremely hard thing to do, and he does it with ease, or apparent ease. Billy Joe's really up against it this weekend, but Billy Joe himself is a very slick, very awkward fighter. So I think Canelo's got his work cut out relative to his recent opponents. It's going to be a harder fight for him. And obviously 70,000 people in the Cowboys Stadium at the AT&T. It's the biggest live sporting event in the US since COVID started. I think it's the second biggest sporting event globally since COVID kicked off. So a huge sort of spectacle, and one that we're really excited to get into on Saturday.
I'm glad to hear that they actually, went nose to nose today. I think there was a little bit of posturing going on there for a bit with the ring issue, right? That it was cut off 2 feet versus what was contracted.
Yeah, I mean, all good stuff for us because it added to the hype of the fight. I mean, there was a brief moment, I think, Monday afternoon, Tuesday morning, where there was talk of the fight being called off, which obviously wouldn't have been great for us. But I think that was bluster. Everything's agreed now. The press conference this morning was a little bit spicy. I think the weigh-in tomorrow will be equally so. There's a real tension in the bubble, which is sort of healthy tension from a broadcast perspective, and it all adds to the sort of drama and soap opera of the whole thing, which is, from a broadcast perspective and from an NFT sales perspective, we hope all good stuff.
100%. We need that extra layer to get the hooks in and really get you invested in the product. Tell me a little bit about the NFT interest specifically. What put it on you guys' radar? Because you said you had been working on it for some time.
Yeah, listen, I'll let Xander and Jack speak to the specifics of the drop and Stu on the design, because those guys have been fantastic in leading those elements. But broadly, from a strategy perspective, we obviously make our core business in the broadcasting of sports. We are an OTT streaming service. We are disruptive. We are trying to take content and off linear traditional pay TV broadcast and give fans a new way, a more flexible, more affordable way to consume their sport. The general strategy and the philosophy of the company is to democratize access to sport, but also to disrupt and improve the user experience. Thus far, in the first 2 or 3 years of our business, operating in the US and 5 or 6 years on a global basis, we've been very successful in building the core product, the actual broadcasting of sports to fans. Yes, we're doing it on more screens. Yes, we're doing it in a more flexible way without long-term contracts. We're doing it at a more affordable price point. But up until now, we haven't fundamentally altered the consumption experience for the fan. What we want to do now in the next phase of our growth is leverage our audience, leverage the fact that we're a digital broadcaster sat on an OTT streaming platform, not traditional linear channels, to fundamentally evolve and revolutionize the experience of consuming sport. That leads us to create a revenue innovation division. That leads us to engage with opportunities of all different shapes and sizes to bring more to the sports fan experience than just live content. We're investing heavily in original content. We're trying to do that in an innovative way. And I think the NFT drop is a sign of things to come from DAZN. It's us taking an opportunity, very opportunistically, over 5 or 6 weeks, that we saw to further engage fans in our core content, to give them another reason to tune in, to give them another reason to engage in the content, and another reason to sort of engage with DAZN more broadly. The idea being that if we do that, and we do that consistently across a number of different touch points, we'll build up a very loyal, very passionate fan base that have a lot more reasons to come to DAZN than just to watch a boxing match or a game of soccer or a game of rugby or whatever it might be. So it's about diversifying and deepening the ways in which we interact with our sports fans, who are obviously the lifeblood of our business. So that's a nutshell summary, I think, of our strategy here.
Yeah, and I think one thing I would just add there, I think what we saw is we, as Joe mentioned, we very much sort of see this as like a first step, right? In terms of a way to bring new experiences to both DAZN subscribers, but also the broader sports fan ecosystem, and also, to an extent, the broader sort of NFT community. What we've seen in the community, sort of, we love the sense of community that's been created around NFTs, and we're thrilled to sort of bring a part of that, to bring this offering in to become a part of that. And I think, what we think we can bring to bear with a lot of sort of the unique aspects of this drop that are, tied to a live event and gamified, which we can get into, is not only sort of, bring our fan base and Canelo fans who may not be interested in NFTs, who may not have known about NFTs historically, into that space and introduce them to this great community. But also, the NFT community, who maybe doesn't know about Canelo, doesn't know about boxing, aren't huge sports fans, introducing them to, the athlete that Canelo is, and the sort of storyline of this fight, we think is, and sort of, the experience that we think we're providing, is something that we were super excited to do. And so I think this is very, in our mind, a very much sort of a first step and toe in the water as we continue to sort of evolve our thinking in this space, and one that, a space that we want to continue to be involved in over time.
I love it. It's very progressive. I think you see on the landscape that a lot of the sports leagues are scrambling right now, trying to see how they're going to involve themselves in the NFT space, and some are much farther along than others, and a lot are playing catch up. But certainly in combat sports, there's a lot of opportunity, and I'd love to touch on that a little bit more at the end. But just as an overview summation of what you plan to do for a drop this weekend. My understanding is, you really want to commemorate, the fight itself, the grand scale of it, and what it really means to fight fans, and also to the fans of their respective fan bases of both fighters. And you've done some cool stuff. So if you could just give me a summary, and we can get into some of the mechanics involved afterwards, but just an overview of it. And then I'd love to talk to Stu about the art itself and what was going into it.
Yeah, Xander, you should speak to the design of the drop, because you led that side of things. So I'll hand to you for that one.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah, and Jack, feel free to jump in here. But essentially, what we've done is kind of come to market with sort of a pre-fight and post-fight drop. So our pre-fight drop is around sort of 3 different collections: our knockout collection, our prediction collection, and tail of the tape. Again, we can sort of go into more detail here, but a lot of these come with, real world assets attached to them, whether it's tickets to the next Canelo fight, signed gloves, personalized, videos from the fighters. We also have various prediction NFTs, where essentially a way for you to sort of predict the way you think the fight may end. So there's one for each different round. And if one of those if the fight ends in one of those rounds, so if you hold, the round 3 NFT, for example, it sort of gives you the ability to win certain prizes, such as 2 tickets, to the next Canelo fight. And then finally, we sort of have a traditional tail of the tape for each fighter, which is a kind of a play on, the trading card concept that we've had, that you've seen historically, and obviously the tail of the tape that you see in broadcasts in a traditional boxing match, which shows, their height, their weight, so on and so forth. And Stu, I think, can get into a lot of the design aspects here, but we're thrilled at sort of how the artwork has come out, and we think it's a huge testament to all the work that Stu and his team have put in, and also sort of advice and insight that Canelo and others input into the process. And then following this pre-fight drop, which is live now, and will go sort of until until Saturday. We also will be doing sort of a post-fight drop, which will commemorate sort of the best moments from the fight, including sort of highlights and, things like the ring walk, so on and so forth. Jack, feel free to jump in and add any incremental detail there, but that's obviously just a high-level overview.
No,
I think you covered it. Yeah, when you want to get into more, we can talk more.
Yeah, I'd love to actually take a look at the art because, so oftentimes we get these drops and the artists are kind of in the background, and Stu's very active here. He's with us, and Stu, so glad to have you on board for this chat.
Fantastic. Thanks for having us. I mean, it was such an amazing sort of opportunity when Jack and Xander came to the team. It's a kind of new space for us to work in, and the kind of approach to it, the same team that work on all of the sort of design for DAZN, especially the boxing output, with the same team that worked on the NFTs. So there's that kind of authenticity about the makers and the designers of making the NFTs. They're sort of also doing what we do in the entertainment offering and bring that here. So with it being like a new kind of space and whatnot, we kind of wanted to make sure that the design experience was enjoyable, as well as kind of making sure what we were doing was going to be kind of collectible and interesting. So we started looking around at some sort of designs that are out there. We kind of saw this Louis Vuitton punch bag, which we thought was quite interesting. A lot of the kind of graphics you get associated with basketball and football, Museum of Mahomes, NFTs are kind of super interesting as well. And there was just like a big kind of mixture of like references. This is a title sequence that we produced for Canelo, which again, it was kind of, it felt quite lavish. It's sort of ability to sort of surprise and delight. And we kind of quite quickly thought like 3D was the kind of area we wanted to sort of play in. So this is the kind of references that we kind of pitched back to the team in terms of what we thought aesthetically was quite interesting. But we also, as I say, we're the same team that work on the kind of narrative and the creative that runs through all of the other touch points. And this is the key art that we're using to sort of promote the fight. So it's a kind of mixture of this idea of like 3D, which is quite interesting because you're not like down to real world physics. So that was super interesting, but also this kind of authentic sports visuals that we're kind of creating as a team as well. So these are the kind of NFTs as the collection as to where we've got to, and you can kind of see the kind of combination of those elements. So we've got the 3D aspect is this kind of loopable asset which is used as a framing device, and it's combined with kind of footage which is kind of really authentic, bringing fans closer to sports. The tail of the tape graphics and the key art is kind of like a really interesting mix. But before I kind of go into the design more specifically, there was a bit of initial dev, and our logo is this kind of square with the 4 letters inside of it. It's got these indentations in it, and I guess like I'm coming at it from, I hope there's like an appetite for this and this takes traction, but I thought it was quite interesting, this kind of framing device to kind of house everything. We've got the great offering with the real world sort of parts of the auction, as well as the kind of digital elements, and this sort of frame seemed like quite an interesting idea to house those moments. It kind of feels like a bit of a set, and then it also kind of feels like an element that you could build out to make a kind of collection that we can build upon. So initial things like really quick and dirty sort of wireframes to get the idea across, but you can start to see how we're thinking like, okay, the edging of the frame could be used to sort of determine tiering, the 3D elements, the kind of the additions. It's like, it would seem quite useful. So we kind of started working away at that, really quick and dirty kind of references, and but it felt it felt quite good. So we kind of kept on developing that. We got this edition, which was like super early on. And the good thing about the team is it's very sort of versatile and diverse, and we can kind of develop these elements. We're using graphics card rendering. We used Octane specifically, which is more associated, I guess, with stills rendering rather than Redshift, just because we wanted that kind of photorealism in the finished product. But we felt like this was quite interesting, so we developed it a bit further. And again, you can kind of see how like each stage it's getting a little bit more interesting. So we decided that precious metals was quite a good place to start. Gold, silver, bronze. It's good sort of connection with sports, and this kind of framing, it started to take on a bit of life. So the material could change depending on the tier. It could be used as a surface to hold type and messaging. It's got this turn mechanism, which could reveal the 3D objects or the key art or the footage. We could add like these GUI element to it, and it kind of started to make a little bit more sense at this point. So we kind of pitched it to the team, and the great thing about everyone involved, there wasn't really any pushback because it was such a new thing for all of us to be working on. It was more like what if, and kind of adding to it all the time, which was just a great place to be, really. So, we kind of taken that, we'd done a few more kind of test renders, and again, it was really super basic compared to where we ended up. But I think there was something like really, really interesting at this point that we felt, right, let's kind of, we got the 5% out of it. Let's sort of see what we can do if we add like another 95% to it. So we kind of taken that on, and then, like I say, this is the collection where we got it, and it just feels like there's a lot of good stuff here. Kind of really quite happy with where we got to in the time. It's doing everything that we need to, and it certainly feels like a thing now. And hopefully, like I say, if this takes traction, then we can scale this for other fights or other sports. But we've got this idea of this kind of magic object that can hold different elements. So in terms of the elements themselves, it's this idea that you've got the kind of the objects that relate to the real world prizes and the kind of gamification of the NFT. So the things like the boxing gloves here, because that's one of the kind of auction prizes. With the kind of prediction element, we can't time travel, so we're kind of leaning in the sort of the animated boxes to sort of illustrate the kind of winning moment, and that kind of adds another element to it. And that's quite interesting because you're kind of seeing the examples, they break frame. The footage there, so you've got Canelo and Billy Joe Saunders training in the NFTs, and I think this is like a super interesting space, and like hopefully we'll build those connections with the community. A lot of the stuff that we're seeing at the moment are quite linear, but from my point of view, as sort of head of design, I'm thinking about like photogrammetry or like interactive NFTs, or the way that you're capturing the data and the moments from the fights. I think it's just like a really interesting space to play in from a design point of view. But I think it all just harks back to this kind of this sort of frame, the kind of memorabilia element of it as well, and owning a kind of part of a sort of significant sporting moment. Like I've said, like this is a huge event, like in the sporting calendar, let alone just in the boxing calendar. And I think it's all there, and we live and breathe design and sport as a team, and we find it's quite a passionate sort of project to get involved in. So this is a sort of an example of a prediction NFT at the kind of bronze tier, and you can kind of start to see where those references and that kind of melting pot that we were playing in are all coming together. The shape itself, we've developed it so it's in constant flux, and the turning mechanism, you can see these panels kind of sliding about. We've kind of added these glints and sparkles. It kind of makes it very interesting. One thing that's not coming across in the screen share here is the audio aspect. We've really just hammered up the production qualities here. I think, like, get onto OpenSea and see the NFTs, but the audio as well, and with the tiering for the kind of bronze tier, it's all there. You've got this beautiful kind of soundscape and special effects, but you get up to legendary and it's really just sort of hammers it home. And it's that production quality that we bring to our broadcast and the platform and product that we brought to these NFTs as well. Just really trying to give you a little bit of what we offer as a team. The gold version here, so you can see the surface is a little bit more kind of worked into, and again, it's like boxing, and these like Billy Joe Saunders and Canelo, is it silk Dolce & Gabbana pajamas, or like Versace dressing gowns, Lamborghinis. It's in that kind of world which feels true and authentic to the sport, but it's kind of marrying the kind of the take and that graphics and the narrative graphics that are associated with this fight, the kind of authentic behind the scenes footage, giving you those best shots and best angles and just getting you closer to the moments and packaging it up in this device. And that kind of takes you to the kind of legendary. And it was, we were discussing, well, is it like a diamond black initially? Is it this kind of the black kind of credit card? Or we explored a few things which kind of just felt a little bit flat, and it was like, okay, we really just sort of landed on this by chance. But I guess with trading cards, there's like a hollow foil. We kind of reference that a little bit with the pearlescent and this iridescent effect. The gloves here, you can kind of see it on the turn, but there's this kind of sheen and glow coming off of it, which you aren't getting off of the other tiers. The reflection across the key art there, it's all in there really, at all levels. So this is quite good reference to see those sort of graphics lined up next to each other. So you've got the legendary tier, the gold, the silver and the bronze. All of them do feel very sort of special in their own way. They feel like a completely unique set, but you're also kind of seeing how things like the structure itself is more embellished on the legendary version. The material, it's not only just like the base material like gold, silver, bronze and this iridescent material, but it's the patination on there as well. You can really see that the silver has got that kind of angled ground edging into it. The bronze is less worked into. The textures, the lighting, the sparkles, and I must say, like the audio, if you get onto OpenSea and like listen to the examples with the audio, it really does add a lot to it. So, we've had a lot of fun working on this. We've had good feedback. There's such an open community here, and hopefully that it takes off and we can develop these a little bit more.
Yeah, I love the reference to traditional sports cards collectibles with the hollow and then the different tiering with the precious metals. Definitely, you want to make that connection here while we're trying to onboard people, like you said, that may not traditionally be in the NFT space, because that's where a lot of the opportunity lies. But you can definitely see the cohesion and the thought process that was put into the personalities and the stylistic things that have to do with the fighters in this particular fight, with the types of moments that you created to put into the NFTs. But I would agree with you, the shape structure that you put together that coincides with your logo could make it so you have a greater umbrella of a collection with further fights and stuff down the line. So people may want to accumulate different NFTs, and like you had said, there's opportunity to gamify that, right? Like if you have one from fight X and fight Y, maybe you get dropped this additional NFT. There's so many opportunities to do cool things about the fan experience with NFTs. And like you had mentioned, It's exciting. You guys have built this out, but at some point you may want to leverage the smart contract to have some different interactive elements, right? Like if he reaches a certain number of wins, a certain badge appears on that particular card or that moment, whatever you'd like to call it. So very, very cool. And thank you so much for taking us through a lot of the thought process that went into the care and creation of these NFTs.
Fantastic, thanks.
So can we talk a little bit about the specific mechanisms and features of this NFT drop? I believe there's an auction and then there'll be some live open editions as well. Is that right?
Yeah, kind of. So we're not fully doing open editions, but I'd be happy to talk through it a little bit. So yeah, we had a couple auction items go live yesterday. All of our pre-fight auctions are now live. It's that legendary knockout that you see right there, as well as all of the gold items that Stu was showing earlier. So both of those knockouts, the gold tail of the tapes, as well as the gold prediction items are all available on OpenSea, and all of those come with real world rewards. So, the artwork that Stuart and just spoke through and put together is really, really awesome. It was incredible to see that stuff come to life, especially for us who went to Stu and his team and said, we want to put together a collectible. We probably had something about trading cards in our head, and they came back with these incredible 3D moving trading cards, moving collectibles that are so unique and so different and really speak to what is so cool about the NFT space. I remember when Stu said, this is 5%, I was pretty blown away personally, because to me, that was so much better than what I was expecting. And now this 100% even blows that away. So this one's for sale now. They all come with real world assets. And then starting tomorrow afternoon, while the fighters hit the scales for the weigh-in, we're going to drop 2 more collections, the bronze prediction items and the silver tail of the tape items. Both of those collections are gamified, so you can get behind the fight, have a stake in what happens this weekend, and hopefully have a reason to tune in. And then, like Xander said earlier, after the fight, we're going to drop 1 more collection of post-fight highlights. We don't know exactly what those are going to look like yet, and I think that's kind of cool. They're going to be in a similar format with this box design with the DAZN indentations on the side, but we don't know what the moments are going to be. There might be a spectacular knockout, there might not. We're expecting some pretty spectacular ring walks as well, so we're probably going to look into those too, but it's going to depend on what happens on Saturday, and we want to give everyone an opportunity to own a moment that happened in the fight.
Very cool. And in that vein, let me just add that I thought one of the coolest aspects that I saw of the existing artwork were when some of the models stepped out of the spinning, box and took the 3D element outside of the existing constraints of it. That was a cool moment that you incorporated there. So maybe we'll see a knockout or someone falling through the ropes doing the same thing. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of working in sports. It's like, it's all to be written, but again, it's like in the future you could see, is it like a mocap, is it we can capture these elements in such a variety of ways. I think it makes it super interesting.
Can we just touch on what the real world elements are that are additional features people could get if they win these bids?
Yeah, for sure. So on the knockout NFTs, which obviously they're in the legendary tier, they're to us, they're the most valuable, they're the most rare, they're the most unique. So we've put a really awesome package on both of those. So obviously it's tied to each fighter. So if you buy the Canelo one, you're the owner of that, you can redeem 2 tickets to his next fight, plus signed gloves and a personalized video from Canelo himself. If you buy the Billy Joe one, you get 2 tickets to his next fight, and then signed gloves from his promoter, Eddie Hearn, who's quite the character, and a personalized video from Eddie as well, which would be really fascinating to see what he comes up with there for sure. And each of these have them, but I'd be happy to walk through all of them. For the prediction NFTs, again, these are really gamified, so it depends on what you buy. But if you are able to secure the winning NFT with the round the fight ends in, or if it goes to a judge's decision, you get 2 tickets to the next Canelo fight. And then for the bronze ones, which there's 100 available per round. So that one, we really wanted to give everyone the opportunity to get in on the action if they so choose. Not quite an open edition, a little bit of rarity included there, but we still think everyone will have an opportunity to take part if they want. Again, if you own one of the NFTs for the way that the fight ends, you'll get an annual subscription to DAZN. So hopefully we can get you to come back and watch some more fights later. The tail of the tapes do also have unlockable rewards. So the golds, no matter how the fight ends, if you buy the Canelo one, you'll get signed gloves from him and an annual DAZN subscription. If you buy the Billy Joe Saunders one, you'll get signed gloves from Eddie Hearn and also a DAZN subscription. And then the silver tail of the tapes, the last one here, again have a gamified element. So encouraging users collectors to pick which fighter they think is going to win, who's their favorite, and depending on who wins the fight, the NFTs who represent the winning fighter, everyone who owns those NFTs will get an annual subscription to DAZN, and one of those people will get a personalized video from either Canelo or Eddie Hearn, depending on who wins the fight.
Awesome. Some dream stuff here for fight fans for sure, and a very cool way to have some interactivity. And it sounds like, unless I'm reading into this a little bit too much, that you guys are also exploring, going forward, some different cool things that you could do with the NFT. So who knows, these may have some more utility going forward as well.
For sure.
One thing I wanted. Oh, go ahead.
No, I said for sure. Everything you said before in terms of how we may play in the space going forward, and if a fighter reaches a certain record, so on and so forth, they're all things that we want to learn from this experience and continue to iterate and improve upon the fan experience. So as you said, could be continuous sort of increased utility to these over time. Again, who knows what will happen in the fight, right? All of a sudden, if you're the holder of a Billy Joe Saunders item, like it could perhaps be one of the biggest upsets in boxing, in the last 30 years, right? And all of a sudden, if you own sort of that moment, that's a pretty special collectible to have, and to say that you were a part of. And so we're super excited around doing this sort of around an event of this nature, as you mentioned.
Yeah, most definitely. I think we touched on at the onset that there's an appetite for sports collectibles in the NFT space, and that's certainly been growing in recent weeks with the success of things like NBA Top Shot, which you guys this is a compliment for sure. You guys look like your quality's on par with what they do, and they're the far and away leader right now in this space. Companies like that have really onboarded a lot of new people to NFTs and sports collectibles because they made it kind of a seamless process. And in doing so, a lot more people are looking for these and trying to accumulate. And there's a lot of discussion oftentimes when there's panels with traditional art collectors as well as traditional collectors trying to understand what's the inherent value of NFTs? Why would I have this? And people talk about accumulating things to be able to say, hey, take a look at what I have, take a look at my swag. And I can certainly envision, going forward, a day where a sports fan wants to say, hey, look what I have from the Canelo fight. Look what I have of this, this Jordan throwback. Look what I have of this, Gronkowski won his latest Super Bowl run, and just representative of their sports fandom. And you guys are going to be well positioned with the stuff that you're creating to be a part of that.
Appreciate it. Yeah, no, I think that totally holds weight. I mean, I remember as a kid, maybe this is dating myself a little bit, but having a huge collection of trading cards and piece of the jersey cards and all these special cards, and going over to friends' houses and sort of showing each other our cards, looking at the stats, trading, so on and so forth. And for me, this is obviously just sort of like the obvious next step in that evolution. And I know the NFT space is so much broader than just trading cards, right? But as a sports fan, that's where it sort of struck a chord with me first when Top Shot started to expand, as you mentioned. And so just have a chance to do that in sort of the digital world, and in a sort of truthfully to be able to trade and collect and show your friends these moments in a far superior manner than what's been done historically is something that's super exciting for us.
100%. And this is next level when you can take something like combat sports, especially being able to see some of those pivotal key moments play out in something that you hold and collect. I mean, that's impressive. And I'm sure you've seen some different integrations that are possible with NFTs, right? Like people have collectibles that they really revere in things they're building in the metaverse and going into crypto voxels and Decentraland. And I'm probably going way down the rabbit hole with you guys, but people definitely like to take these and show them off. And so I just think that's going to continue, and you guys are in a great spot. Now, there's been other leagues that have come out with things recently, and I'm not trying to disparage anyone, that it was clear they didn't have the same thought process, the same thesis behind why they were doing it. And so I think the authenticity here is pretty clear to people that are interested in the fight game and are interested in NFTs.
Yeah, no, we appreciate it. Like we said, we sort of love the community that's been created around NFTs, and we're excited to sort of hopefully bring something unique and special that the community values. But as we said, this is very much a first step in the evolution for us. We want to learn. For the listeners today and others, like, please don't hesitate to sort of reach out if you guys have suggestions, questions, so on and so forth. We're very much in learning mode here and want to sort of continually improve upon the already amazing work that sort of Stu and the team have done. And so we're excited to sort of have this be our first step, and hopefully let's say sort of long-standing relationship and one that sort of is fruitful both for us, but also for collectors, fans, and everyone in between. And hopefully we can introduce some of our broader audience and some of Canelo's fans into the NFT space, for those who weren't necessarily familiar with it before. And that's something I would also note, sort of, we've been it's a huge testament to sort of Canelo, all of our partners on this endeavor, Canelo, Billy Joe, Nytmare Boxing, all of them sort of, we're very forward thinking here and really leaned in, and they're really all invested and have, been posting about it, so on and so forth, and are really interested in understand the space in a way that, perhaps others, in the sports space don't. And so we were lucky to have, such great partners that worked with us on this.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, did they have any direct input on the art, whether it's an okay or a thumbs up or anything of that nature?
For sure. So, I think, first of all, they had, they were across the artwork the whole time. Canelo definitely wanted to see the artwork, make sure, he had some input into it. Same with Billy Joe. I think also, what Stu talked about earlier, and Stu probably talked about this in a little bit more detail as needed, but it's really, what was nice is they gave us sort of a lot of freedom, and I think it's a testament to sort of the confidence they have in our design team and Stu and the team. That, as he mentioned, that's the same team that works across all of our fight promotion, not just the NFTs, and so they have a great relationship with the fighters, and so Stu and the team really knows the fighters, what they like, how they think about sort of their appearance and various things like that. And so I think Stu was able to sort of bring something to them that from the jump they really liked. But yes, they were sort of across it, had to prove it, and were very much engaged. And so I know they're both excited about the project, and we're very happy that they were sort of so involved in the process, because it really, I think, brings a special component to this offering.
Very cool. I also find it interesting that you guys literally built this from the ground up. You decided to launch on OpenSea as opposed to going with a third-party platform that could have integrated a lot of stuff for you. So just a testament to how embedded and committed you are to really doing well in this space and doing your own thing as opposed to someone else's templated stuff.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
But really quick, because I'm just curious, do you guys did any of you collect any NFTs yet, or you're just getting in the game now with this drop?
Go around, Jack. You want to go through? Stu, go first. We can go around.
Yeah, I've been watching it. I've been looking around. I'm an art lover historically, so it's been interesting for me to get to know the artwork side of NFTs, not just in sports. I think Stu might have the most interesting stories here. I think he's dipped his toes in maybe a little bit more than Xander and I have, so I'll let him go.
I mean, Top Shot's obviously taken everyone's attention. Ed Mallin, our creative director, was on that early, and so I was aware of Top Shot before this project came in, and it kind of got a few drops myself. There's a kind of design NFT site, which I'm sure you're familiar with, called Foundation App. And I know a few people from the industry that are in there. I think like Andrew Benson, he's doing some particularly interesting stuff. There's an Australian artist that I really rate for a long time called Jonathan Zawada. Kind of worked with him in a previous life on some sort of PlayStation projects, and I think like seeing what he's doing, and he's collaborating with Flume, an Australian sort of music artist. I think it's like it is a massively creative sort of space. Other people like David Rudnick, who are huge in the graphic design game, and have influenced a lot of design and kind of pop culture. It's great to sort of see him getting involved with NFTs and really kind of getting rewarded for all the work, really. But yeah, I think sort of fully aware of it, and definitely massively interested in what's happening.
Yeah, and from my perspective, I've gotten involved a little bit in Top Shot, and as I said, from a trading card perspective, that was sort of what first initially sparked my interest, and then have explored the space a lot more. There was a sort of a great piece of art by Thank You X and JN Silva called Times Squares that I really liked, especially as sort of a native New Yorker. Unfortunately, moved quickly sort of out of my price range, so I wasn't able to sort of collect that one, but definitely have been following the space, and there's some really exciting works out there, and look forward to hopefully continuing to kind of build a collection.
Awesome stuff. I definitely fall in the category of I see something and geek out on it and make the purchase, as opposed to looking for investment strategies. If that was the game plan, I fell off of that bus a long time ago. So I see something I like and I have to have it. And so that's, a testament to the wide swath of people that are interested in NFTs and how the space is growing. So, awesome that you guys are putting opportunities for different fan engagement platforms for people to take part and be more interactive with you, especially in this environment, right, where a lot of people haven't been able to do anything. So I think that's aided in the explosive growth of NFTs and people wanting that interactivity from afar. So very, very cool stuff. Before I let you guys go, I have to ask the question, and I know, as a broadcaster of the fight, you don't want to make predictions, but how do you think the fight is going to go? What do you think is going to happen?
I guess I can start. I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, it's been fun to watch all the interaction between the fighters this week, like Joe was talking about earlier. Billy Joe's a really confident guy, clearly. He's not afraid of Canelo. He's not afraid of anything. But for me, having worked for DAZN for I think 5 of 6 Canelo fights, watching him is pretty spectacular. He's really incredible. He looks like he's at the top of his game, and he looks like there isn't anyone above him. So I would be surprised if it wasn't Canelo. And I also think Canelo would probably want to make a statement in this one, given how loud and aggressive Billy Joe has been in the promotion. So I would probably go, if I was going to buy one of those prediction NFTs, I'd probably go for a 8th to 11th round knockout.
Nice.
Yeah, look, I don't know. It's as Jack said, Canelo is impressive. He's like no one I've ever seen before. I think, it's interesting. I think Canelo, to an extent, sort of like all of the chatter the last week, you've seen a little bit of fire out of him. He's usually very calm, cool, and collected. And I think, Billy Joe, it's been interesting to see how he's sort of revved up the engine a little bit. I don't know what effect that might have on fight day. And, Billy Joe, for sort of as big of an underdog he's still undefeated. And he is sort of, unconventional in the ring in terms of how slippery he is, how hard he is to hit. So I'm just hoping for a great fight. As Jack said, I think, hopefully it goes later in the round and we see some highlight moments. But I think in either respect, it should be a super exciting event to watch. Stu, I don't know about you.
I'm terrible at picking the winner. I think it's going to be an interesting event. I think Canelo is sort of odds-on favourite, but I think Billy Joe Saunders there's a spirit there, and you never can tell. There might be an upset, but
We've
gonna
got
be
the
a hell of a
British guy
fight.
rooting for his countryman there. Gotta stay with the man from the UK. Very good.
You know what? I actually I trained for a little bit, so I always enjoy a fight just for stylistically taking a look at things. And from stuff I read, it looks like Saunders could give him a little bit of problems just because of his kind of style being just unorthodox versus what Canelo is traditionally used to. So that's what I'll be rooting for, to kind of see that and take that into focus.
For sure.
So guys, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. Like I said, our community has been chomping at the bit to talk more sports cards, collectibles in the NFT space, because it's something that the appetite is growing for. So it was great to have you on. You've done an impressive job preparing these NFTs, and the authenticity really shows through. Before I take everyone out, I will just make sure that we go to OpenSea and show the community the full experience with Otto, and I will close out with your promotional drop that you had done for the NFTs. Anything else you'd like to say to the whale community before we part ways?
No, look,
I think just thanks for having us. Sorry, go ahead, Xander.
Yeah, no, same here. I was going to echo the sentiment. Thanks for having us. We're super excited. Hopefully, you guys are just as excited about what we showed today, and sort of our passion for the project shine through. And we just appreciate you guys at least taking the time to listen. And like I said, if there are any sort of questions or suggestions or anything, we're open ears and excited to sort of be a part of this community. So don't hesitate to reach out.
Definitely, and I'd welcome you to stay in the whale community. If you have any questions you'd like or feedback on projects you're doing, we have a ton of super talented artists that are in Sotheby's, Christie's, all over the world that would be glad to offer their input. So it's a great place to be.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it, and thanks for taking the time again to bring us on today.
No problem. Thanks everyone, and have a great broadcast.
Thanks.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you.